Facebook has suspended without warning pages of Mavic Media, a Berlin-based company which produces several successful online news projects. Now, the move coincided with a CNN report claiming Mavic was deliberately trying to hide its ties to the Russian government. Yulia Shapovalova reports.
Social media giant Facebook has blocked a project by RT host Anissa Naoué called In the Now, as well as 3 other accounts related to the show called Soapbox, Waste Ed and Back Then. Almost at the same time, CNN released what they seemed to think was a revealing story linking it all to, of course, RT. It was said in the CNN report that people who watch the video content are unaware there's Russian money backing them. It all came from an alleged tip-off about the Russian footprint from the German Marshall Fund, a group sponsored by Berlin and Washington. RT editor-in-chief Margarita Simonyan has called CNN's report a right-hand act of the US State Department.
CNN is once again acting as the right hand or left or even leg or crutch of the State Department, NATO and everything connected with them. And Facebook is doing the same. CNN doesn't even make a secret of the fact they did their so-called investigation, or to be more precise, blackmail material, on a direct tip from a foundation financed by NATO and the State Department. CNN literally forced Facebook to delete our accounts, but Facebook also could have refused.
According to Simonyan, Facebook's management feared accusations of aiding Russian interference and therefore immediately decided to delete the online projects, which had 4 million subscribers and 2.5 billion views. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, has also weighed in on the issue, calling online pressure against Russia nothing new.
That's coming from governments of neighbouring countries. We've faced it many times. It all leads to a loss of confidence and seriously damages big and respected international companies. In this particular case, I won't get ahead of myself. We need an explanation first. RT should protect its interests and find out the reason behind this.
Facebook's decision to shut down the pages run by Mavic has gone unexplained so far. The accounts did not break any of the social network's rules. Plus, numerous other media companies supported with government money, including the BBC, Deutsche Welle and Al Jazeera, are not having to deal with similar treatment. The suspensions have also drawn sharp criticism from journalist Glenn Greenwald, best known for his revelations about US and UK surveillance programs. He accused Facebook, CNN and the Marshall Fund of selective censorship. Last autumn, 3 weeks before the midterm presidential election in the United States, Facebook deleted 810 pages and accounts accusing their creators of spamming and misinformation. Just last month, Facebook deleted several hundred accounts as part of an operation against, quote, Russian propaganda, including 7 pages belonging to the Sputnik news agency. Facebook is not the only American company that is trying to limit the activities of accounts one way or another connected with Russia. Earlier, YouTube began tagging RT video content with a special warning saying that the media was funded by the Russian government. In February, RT accounts hit the 8 billion views mark on YouTube, setting a record among news channels. According to the total number of views, the Russian media source is ahead of the BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera and Euronews. Yulia Shapovalova, RT.
Now, earlier, RT spoke to Rania Halek, a host of many of the videos on these censored places. She says this is censorship by Facebook.
We had over 4 million, almost 4 million followers. We were a verified page, and CNN took us down without contacting us, without saying anything, and is now being completely unresponsive. It's very unsettling, and what this is it's indirect censorship by the U.S. government. When you have a U.S. government-funded group influencing a massive media outlet like CNN to pressure Facebook to censor a page, that is U.S. government censorship, and it's incredibly alarming.
For more, return to investigative journalist Ben Swan. Ben, you know, you and I have talked about this before. You have a large social media presence. I had one as well. Is it generally required for a Facebook page to have to identify the ownership and funding for that page?
Right. It's absolutely not. I think that Facebook doesn't even deny that it's not. Even in the CNN report, they say that it's not under Facebook's terms of service that you have to disclose where the funding comes from. And, you know, the report that was on just before I'm speaking here was pretty in-depth. But a couple of things. I went on Facebook today and looked to see if Voice of America, which is funded by the U.S. government, is required to explain where that funding comes from. It has no mention either on the front page of their Facebook page or in the About section. Same for Al Jazeera English. 11 million fans on that page. There's not one mention of the fact that they're funded by the Qatari government, nor is there anything in the About. So these other entities are not being required to disclose where their funding comes from. It's not a requirement. So why were these pages taken down? It's part of this anti-Russian hysteria McCarthyism.
Well, it's interesting because I also look at NPR here in America. I look at BBC, a lot of media companies. But this is the double standard that we here, especially at RT America, have seen time and time again. Now, though, we're bringing in CNN to this, another network, and them playing into this, the CNN report playing into this suspension, and they're demanding the disclosure of ownership. However, shouldn't we also know how much that CNN pays Facebook or how much they pay to put videos onto Facebook?
Well, yes, but we should also know more than that. If CNN believes that part of accuracy in reporting, and I think you can actually make an argument for this, part of accuracy in reporting is to divulge any financial arrangements that are made, then every time CNN does a story about vaccinations, are they disclosing how much advertising revenue they receive from big pharma companies? Every time Facebook does a story regarding the U.S. government, do they talk about how much they're paying former military members or current military contractors to come on as experts on these subjects? So there's no disclosure of any of those financial arrangements, and yet they're happening every single day. So for CNN to act as if, this is a highly unusual thing that these pages are receiving government funding is completely disingenuous.
Well, that's the other thing that I have to ask for. All of a sudden, we've seen this attack on both RT America as well as RT, but from media sources. We talked about NBC last week. Now we're seeing CNN. You would think there would be this thing called freedom of press, and they say that we're not the press, yet we see them going after us, or we're going to see them after our brother and sister networks underneath the RT umbrella. So if we're going to be held to this standard, why can't we be held to they can't be held to the same standards that we're being supposedly held to, even though we're not doing anything wrong at this stage?
Right, and then there's a very important point there too, which is that if you go back and you watch the CNN report on this, there is not one claim, not one mention that anything on any of these videos is incorrect. They don't say it's false, that it's incorrect information. They simply say the information goes in line with other Kremlin propaganda, to which a lot of the folks who are working on these projects say, so if you're anti-war, that means you're part of Kremlin propaganda, or if you're against a U.S. war, or exactly what you're doing on your show today. If you're fighting on the other side of the Venezuela issue and saying, let's take a look at this, the totality of this, not just the neocon, neoliberal perspective, you're now a puppet of the Kremlin. And so there's nothing that says the facts and the information in these stories are wrong. They're just saying they don't like who's paying for it. And that's an even bigger problem.
Well, that's the thing, Ben, and just like you and I have discussed before, I tell anybody that has any critique of this network or any of our programming, they're usually going off of talking points. Watch and make your own mind. We trust our viewers that they have a brain and they know how to use it. And I trust you for your opinion. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Scotty.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.